Paul, thank you for joining us today. Your company, Precise Trial, was the fifth acquisition IMS has made since 2019. And like all the other consulting firms, Precise was a boutique firm offering trial support services. And you guys mainly in the Northeast, right?
Correct. Back in 1999, we had started in Pittsburgh, and it was something where the founding partner, Pete Mansman, at that time was going to law school. And long story short, his dad had um, a law firm in Pittsburgh. They had an arbitration come up, and they had hundreds of photographs, and they knew that there was a better way for computers to be able to really help out present at the arbitration. So Pete did some research, found trial director, off-the-shelf application at that point, presented at the arbitration. The arbitration didn't turn out for what they were hoping, but it kind of sparked a whole new business in that opposing counsel was blown away by the presentation, asked them to help for an upcoming trial, and then it just kind of snowballed from there.
And so when did you join the company?
So I jumped aboard 2002 after a stint in the engineering world. Hooked up with Matt and Pete and found out what they had going on, and was just blown away by the fact that computers didn't really have a prominent feature in the courtroom at that point. So I jumped aboard 2002, learned the ropes of the business in our Pittsburgh office, and then moved out to Philadelphia in 2003 to open our Philadelphia office. And it was something where what we were doing at that time was focused primarily on the trial presentation aspects. It was at the tail end of the litigation life cycle. And ever since then, we started swimming back upstream, if you will. Started adding in innovative use of video editing capabilities, getting into 2D and 3D graphics and animations, and had brought aboard a certified medical illustrator, a 3D animator, as we continued to build out our trial support team. But from day one, it was always trying to harness the power of technology to assist attorneys in leveling the playing field in their cases. And it was always kind of a whatever it takes mantra to help our clients succeed.
I think that's kind of the theme of all of us boutique firms. We really all have that in common. I'm curious, why did you want to join IMS?
So it was something where it was an opportunity to join some of the most innovative minds in the litigation support arena. And just their goal of being the best, not the biggest, but becoming one of the best litigation consulting firms in the world. And just having talked with the different folks that were already there, it was surprising to find out some of them had been in the game longer than I had. And it was just a wonderful opportunity, and just the cultures meshed perfectly. You know, everybody had that commitment to the client as well as knowing the ins and outs of the business. You know, Jeff Dom, talking with him, he had been doing it longer than I had, and just knowing that it was coming a part of a team that knew the ins and out of the industry, and being able to join forces with the other, the jury consulting team, the stable of graphic artists, the expert witness, and being able to provide all that as a one-stop solution for our clients.
Acquisitions don't happen overnight. Trust me, I know, and you've gone through this. So what was that like for you during the due diligence phase?
Sure. You know, we were certainly a little apprehensive about it, just going, you know, with each step. It was kind of further than we had gone before. But the team was, the IMS team, the due diligence team, they were extremely helpful and patient with us as we were working our way through it. Something where it wasn't as difficult in the end, looking back in hindsight, wasn't as terrible as we thought it was going to be. Some of that was a matter of we didn't have any IP that we were bringing along with us, so that wasn't a part of it. Our accounting team at Precise did a great job of keeping everything, the I's dotted and the T's crossed, so everything was clean on our point. So it just became, you know, just kind of a lot of the back and forth, but it was intense, but it was completely palatable as we worked our way through the process.
So just like the Focal Point, Litigation Insights, Songus, we're all still actively working. Nobody's retired. And we were all concerned about retaining employees. So what were the reactions with the Precise employees about being acquired?
There was certainly a lot of nervousness and apprehension when we first brought it up with the team. And it was something where, we know we're only as good as the folks that we have working by us, with us, next to us. And our staff had always been, we always did our best to do everything we could to do right by them. And it was just part of the communication that we delivered to them. We had been through the song and dance before with other potential suitors, but it was something where it was always apparent they were more interested in our book of business. Whereas with IMS, it was the complete opposite of that. They certainly liked and appreciated the book of business and what we had developed over the last 20 plus years, but it was, their interest in our team. And, with the other suitors, it was a non-starter because it was apparent they just wanted our book of business. They were going to whittle away at our team that we had in place, and that was just a non-starter for us. Our team had always done right by us, so we wanted to make sure that they had opportunities going forward. So just with the being able to communicate to them the higher ceiling that they had for career growth and upward mobility, the different opportunities at IMS to be able to go out and specialize in really what they wanted to focus on. At Precise, it was everybody always wore different hats because that's what boutique firms do. Whereas with a large organization like IMS, best and highest use was the common refrain that we had heard throughout the process and communicated to them. And, it was something where before they had a chance to meet the IMS team, they were certainly nervous as far as what their future held. Again, we communicated to them what opportunities they could take advantage of, but then once they started to have the chance to meet with Jeff and Marissa and Michelle and everybody else, their comfort level increased drastically because everything we had been told and them telling them everything that we had been feeling up to that point was spot on, that it was, these are folks that have been in the industry, they know the industry, and just want to continue growing to be one of the best firms around. And that was felt from top to bottom. And, for the most part, we retained everybody that came aboard from the Precise team to join IMS almost, 10 months later at this point.
So you sign on the dotted line, the deal is done. Now you go through integration. And I remember for me at Litigation Insights, I just assumed it would magically happen and it would be a simple process and it would take a few weeks. Can you talk about your experiences and your other fellow owners' experiences and your employees' experiences of the integration phase?
Sure. And it's something where, it's still going on at this point. And that speaks volumes to the process. It's not something that's going to be done overnight. It's not something where we're doing something as a 20 person company at Precise, and now we're joining a company that's more than 10 times larger than that. The IMS team was extremely patient, welcoming our thoughts and inputs on how to best approach and kind of design that integration phase. They were very responsive to the concerns we had, and when needed, changing it. But it was also something where it did take some time. We're dealing with a lot more people, a lot more software application platforms, and a lot more internal processes and procedures. And that was something I always longed for at Precise, that sometimes we were a little too loosey-goosey with the way we approach things. And I love how, IMS does have very specific procedures that are all available online through the suite process interface. That way, if there's ever any questions, everything's already, you don't have to answer the same question 3 different times. Everything's very well documented, and just keep telling myself that it's, we're not in a little speedboat anymore with a 20-person company. We're now part of a larger cruise ship, and cruise ships usually take about a mile to turn around. So, there's certainly some little bit of drawback to that, not being quite as nimble as a small company, but I think it's much for the greater good to have such well-documented procedures and internal processes.
Let's talk a little bit about the clients. Why should IMS clients be excited about Precise joining?
Well, I think the team that we bring is like the other IMS folks that we've integrated with, you know, best in class is what we were doing. We bring with us 8 full-time presentation technologists. Among that, what I found in my ventures over the last 20 years, we're among the most seasoned and tenured in the industry. Our trial techs average about 10 years experience in the industry with 120 trials under their belt, doing cases of all types from catastrophic injury, product liability, to antitrust, to multi-billion dollar bankruptcy hearings. So our tribal knowledge has allowed us to get to a point where, at this point, there's really, we've pretty much seen it all and done it all. Really no obstacles or challenges that we can't overcome. COVID certainly kind of threw us a little curveball there as far as the demands and necessities for the remote hearings, which we had been doing for years prior, but they were now front and center. But again, it's a challenge we rose up to. And then, in addition to the trial techs, it's also the creative minds that we bring with us. Brian Schutzman was creative director at Precise. He used to do some animation at Disney. So his ability to create really anything that your imagination can think up. He's able to create into a three-dimensional world. Admissibility might be another another concern with that, but that's where his expertise comes in, and how he's able to work with the experts to make sure that admissibility is obviously first and foremost when creating an animation. Phil Ashley, a certified medical illustrator that was with Precise for about 15 years and medical publishing before that. So his ability to interface with experts and doctors in cases to illustrate and help a lay juror with, they might not even have a high school education, but help them understand the complex medicine in the case. That visual communication strategy that people always talk about, as 65% of the general population are actual visual learners, but a vast majority of attorneys are auditory learners. So it's helping bridge that gap between how they're accustomed to learning and how the jurors are accustomed to learning, and being able to provide that visual communication to help them convey very complex ideas to the jury. And really, it's been the approach we always took at Precise. Being trial techs, most people think as just us as button pushers sitting in the courtroom hiding behind a computer screen. Since day one, we'd always taken a much more consultative approach to our cases. I've been in trials where as soon as the opposing trial tech was done, you see him open up his email or jump on a web browser, or believe it or not, I've seen him crack a book in the middle of a jury trial because his presentation was done. We take the approach of being fully ingrained and fully immersed in the trial so that we can become a 13th juror to the trial team. They had been involved in that case elbows deep for years. Sometimes they lose sight of the overall picture when they're so focused on the details. So we're hearing the case for the first time as it's coming in front of the jury. If there's something that doesn't make sense to us, or if they didn't really connect the dots between A and B, we can provide those ideas and suggestions and feedback at a morning break or over lunch or after hours. But just that level of attention to the case, our clients, and I think that's a huge differentiator between what I've seen with many of our competitors out there in the industry.
So on the other side of the coin, how does this benefit your existing Precise clients?
Just the next level of service that they're going to be able to provide. They've always been accustomed to us helping them brainstorm on how best to present their case visually, with the graphics, the animations, the in-court presentation, the IMS experience that's brought by the jury consulting team, how they're able to help identify themes and help craft the storytelling aspect of the case is something, that is just next level from what we had always been able to do. You can have all the fancy demonstratives in the world, the timelines, the video clips, the animations, and of course a flawless presentation. But if you don't have a well-crafted story to present your case to help the jurors really understand and identify with your case, you might fall short. So the team of the jury consultants at IMS, their expertise to really be able to dig into the case facts to help identify the core values that resonate with jurors, um, and really craft that case theory. It's just helping our clients take their game to the next level. Um, and that's, it's not only what happened and why it happened, with some of the jury research, but how to apply that knowledge and really what to do about it.
Okay, without naming names, let's think about a real case since post acquisition, and how you were able to handle client needs with more resources and more staff.
Sure, sure. The timing couldn't have been better, honestly, because it was something where, the acquisition happened late December. Um, we had our trial schedule already set and filling up by the weekend for spring of this year. And there was a large commercial case that we had lined up with the AmLaw 100, and they'd been talking about wanting to do some graphics and timelines and such. And that can take on, timelines specifically can take on a life of their own sometimes. You get into a case that the litigation revolves around a relationship that goes back 10 or 20 years, a lot of information to convey. So it was something where being able to bring in the graphic artist team, and let them focus solely on the timelines. I was there in the war room prepping for trial, going through and helping them pull together their opening statements, but there were all these changes with the timelines that, would have been really tough for me to do. I've done it in the past, but it usually involves staying up till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and getting 2 hours of sleep before you start trial the next day. So just having those additional resources, um, and the level with which they're able to complete the timelines and the speed that they're able to do it is just leaps and bounds better than anything I've been able to do. So that was a case there, and then there was another case where it was great to see kind of the intersection of clientele where we had a case lined up. We were brought in to do the trial support, or they were trying to bring us in to do the trial support. They sent us the information for the conflict, and turns out we had already been lined up to do a mock trial with them. So kind of a joining of the forces between the IMS teams and being able to help that client, which it's actually in trial right now. So hopefully we'll have a success story with that pretty soon, but it's currently in trial as we speak.
All right, so last question. What are you most excited about moving forward?
Just getting more integrated with the IMS team and having the ability to work side by side with some of the folks that I had either known or heard about for years, whether it's the jury consulting side or the graphic side, being able to bring them into our cases, be able to help them out with their cases. Um, just working with the best talent in the industry elevates everybody's game. So it's just having the additional hot seaters with Brett and James to the graphics team and the jury consultant. Just these ultra talented folks that, are part of our team now. We're all part of the same team wearing the same jerseys. And, it used to be we'd get calls from clients, oh, do you know somebody that does mock trials? Or do you know an expert that does this? It's now all part of our same organization, and where I know that everybody has the same mantra of best in class service and whatever it takes attitude to help the client succeed in their cases.
Well, I know I speak for Jeff Dom, who heads up our trial presentation group, and Marissa Harrington, who heads up our graphics group, that you guys have brought a breath of fresh air to our stable of talent. And it sure is going to be exciting watching how we grow and how we pursue cases from here on out. So thank you, Paul. Appreciate your time today.
Absolutely, Adam. Thanks for the chance to talk with you and share the wonderful feelings that I, not to sound too cheesy, but just the wonderful feelings that I have over the last 10 months. It's been a great journey, and looking forward to the next 20 years.
Thank you.